When analyzing a fight, it's very important to make note of which punches are being thrown, from which position, in what order, and what defense is being used in response to those attacks throughout the rounds. That being said, let's begin this breakdown of Canelo Triple G1 by making note of the very first punch and defense of the very first round. Fittingly, it was a Triple G jab, and the defense Canelo chose was a rear hand catch. In most rounds throughout the fight, Canelo would begin by circling to his right, away from Golovkin's power hand, but would almost immediately revert to circling to his left, directly into Golovkin's deadly rear hand. To avoid becoming too predictable with this leftward circling, Canelo would occasionally stop and rhythm side to side. In response to the sudden directional change, Golovkin would either mimic Canelo's rhythm, or he would consider throwing the left for the split second that Canelo appeared to be going to his right. The resulting momentary change in pace allowed Canelo to frequently escape to his left. These side-to-side movements set up other defensive options for Canelo as well, like this Cuban outstep in particular, which he used against one of Golovkin's most commonly thrown combos throughout the early rounds, the double jab cross. After recognizing that Canelo was frequently defending his jab using the rear hand catch, he began adapting his main double jab cross combo by incorporating feints and level changes, as well as varying his punch selection from a double jab to a jab hook in hopes of exploiting the opening created by Canelo's catch defense. Throughout the rest of the first round, they traded some jabs back and forth, with Triple G getting the better of it according to CompuBox. Each corner was extremely vigilant during that first round, and after noticing the offensive and defensive pattern of this particular exchange, both Reynoso and Sanchez had some choice words for their boxers.
That was the first round, son, okay? He wants to catch you with one punch, just like we know. All right? He's showing you his two lefts, and he throws that right hook. Be careful with that. We're catching him there very good. Step back and receive him with that uppercut, okay?
Short right here. He's going to counter with the uppercut. Give me the left hook right here, okay?
Throughout the second round, Canelo did less circling, started to mount some forward offense of his own, and began having some success to the body. Both seemed to be vying to be the first to successfully perform the request from their corners, as there was some hesitation from Triple G to throw the double jab cross that would elicit the step-back uppercut from Canelo, which he could then counter with the lead hook like Abel asked for. In the last 10 seconds of round 2, Triple G got Canelo into the corner, where he wouldn't be able to step back the way Reynoso wanted him to, so he took the opportunity to shoot the double jab cross. The exchange goes as planned for both corners, but Triple G arguably gets the better of it with his left hook. CompuBox recorded 14 out of 42 total punches landed for Canelo in round 2, and 12 out of 38 for Triple G. But I believe the tactical battle was won by Triple G, as Canelo was now fighting more of his fight, even if it was by choice. Also, Golovkin, being the one to successfully perform his corner's advice, gets extra credit in my book. This time the coaching between rounds from Reynoso wasn't what most would expect, and as we'll see in round 3, didn't go quite as planned.
You're doing a very good fight, but you have to fight in the middle of the ring. In the middle of the ring is where you dominate.
Right away in round 3, Golovkin came on strong, and began landing the lead hook to the head more frequently, both as a lead and in combination. His jab became increasingly effective as well. Gennadi's constant forward pressure forced Canelo to defend 2 or 3 times in a row, which eventually opened up opportunities for him to land on punches 4 and 5. By the end of round 3, Harold Lederman had Canelo up 2 after losing the first on his unofficial scorecard. But this would be the last round for the next 4 that Canelo would outland Triple G in terms of power punches, allowing Triple G to close the gap in terms of effective aggression. Although Canelo continued to land great shots throughout those 4 rounds, they were too few and far between in my opinion, and seemed to have little or no effect in stopping Golovkin's forward aggression. For the most part, round 4 was a testament to Canelo's amazing defense, as he continued to use the Cuban outstep that he found success with early in round 1, despite Triple G getting closer and closer to landing that overhand right. This outside slip of Triple G's rear hand and pull of his lead hook is another great example of the amazing defense Canelo displayed this round. But despite the great defense, this sequence in which Canelo decided to sit on the ropes and perhaps rest, or maybe try to rope-a-dope Triple G, was the longest he had spent on the ropes up until this point in the fight, which again, although some would say, as the great Roy Jones Jr. did, that because Canelo allowed it, it didn't mean much in the way of Triple G pushing the style of the fight in his direction.
Interesting to see how Canelo responds to that 4th round, Roy.
Well, it's not so interesting because
he allowed Triple G to do that round. He backed back to the ropes himself and stayed there on purpose. It wasn't like Triple G forced him into that. So it's not like he gave up a round on purpose. He did that himself because, I mean, by mistake, he did that himself because he chose to fight that way that round. It's not like Triple G took command of that round.
I don't know. We see that round differently.
But nonetheless, this was one of the few rounds that went to Triple G on all three judges' scorecards. And that time on the ropes surely helped solidify that, along with some great left hooks and right hands that Triple G landed near the middle and end of the round. Increasingly, it seemed as though Triple G was gaining confidence, whereas Canelo was simply trying to keep his from fading. After circling to evade for the first 30 seconds of round 5, Canelo again found himself on the ropes, but this time it was clearly due to the pressure being applied by Golovkin. Canelo, using every tool in his arsenal to weave under, slip to the inside and outside of punches, shoulder rolling wherever possible, and using his hands to deflect and redirect punches off their intended path. But with just a minute left to go, we saw a reappearance of that common double jab cross combo from Triple G, and this time it found its mark in a big way, scoring perhaps the best punch of the fight over top a Canelo check hook in the form of an overhand right. In the corner between rounds, Reynoso was clearly displeased with Saul's performance and pleaded with him to stay off the ropes.
You made the mistake, like we talked about. If you stay against the ropes, he has the option to connect you with that punch that he did. Don't experiment, son. Okay, he's got the advantage because he has you against the ropes. He caught you with that punch. Solid punch because you looked for it.
Early in round 6, Triple G was able to land yet another solid right hand, but this time by setting it up with a footwork feint that mimicked the lead foot step he would normally take when jabbing, causing Canelo to bring his rear hand forward to catch as he'd done previously. But now as Gennady throws the real jab, there's some confusion and hesitation on Canelo's part as he attempts to cross block using his left hand. And depending on how you look at it, it ends up either too late to defend against the jab or too early to defend against the right hand. So the best that Canelo can do is to turn his head away from the punch as best he can to minimize the damage. Just a few seconds later, we see again that as Gennady steps in with the lead foot, there's a defensive reaction from Canelo, but this time in the form of a pull, which provides a good opportunity for Triple G to land the left hook to the body, which is a punch that I'd definitely like to see him use more of in their trilogy match. He follows that up with a great right hand while Canelo is squared up with his left hand low. The pressure continued to mount throughout the round, and credit to Canelo for being able to defend about 6 of these 8 punches, but that's just that. 8 unanswered punches with a touch jab and a looping rear hand to the body. I don't care who you are, that's not winning the round. Heading into round 7, Harold Lederman had it 4 rounds to 2 in favor of Gennady Golovkin. This was one of the most important swing rounds in my opinion, since Adelaide Byrd had given it to Triple G, which was just one of the 2 rounds she gave him throughout the entire fight. Dave Moretti also gave it to Triple G, meaning that had Don Trella seen this round the same way the other 2 judges saw it, then Gennady would have won by split decision, instead of the fight being called a split draw, which just so happens to be the rarest outcome in boxing.
Golovkin outlanding Canelo in every round but one, the second.
When a fight is close, I'm of the opinion that the aggressor should be rewarded. Here in the 8th round, Gennady did some of his best work, landing short punches that didn't afford Canelo the opportunity to roll away or turn his head to dampen the blows. He caught Canelo with jabs both when he would come forward as well as when he was going back, was able to pick off body shots using his elbows and forearms, and even countered with the uppercut to the inside of those same punches. But Canelo did also have his moments of impressive defense and was also able to land an uppercut of his own, which was arguably the best punch of the round. But the round has to go to Gennady in my opinion, seeing as he outlanded Canelo 21-11, having landed 9 power punches, just 1 less than Canelo's 10 for the round. Again, in the corner, Abel Sanchez helps Gennady to make a great adjustment. Let's listen in.
Gee, when he's moving into the right hand, you gotta throw it this way. Don't throw it straight on me. Throw it like a hook, a long hook, okay? Because he's moving into it, all right? Just make sure that we don't let him work. Watch that uppercut too. You see that uppercut, okay?
Right away, Triple G finds success with the advice given to him in the corner. By looping the rear hand, he began to take away the left side exit from Canelo. And to me, this success alongside his continued pressure is worth far more than this one famous punch.
It's been a great first half of the 9th round for him.
This may have been the best punch of the entire fight, but somehow most people who see it are more impressed by the lack of damage it seemed to cause Triple G. The look of discouragement on Canelo's face after landing his best punch is truly a symbolic moment in the dynamic of this fight. After absorbing that punch like the literal liquid Terminator, Triple G got straight back to firing shots on the ropes like it never happened. and for the second round in a row finished with nearly double the total landed punches of Canelo. Although the ninth would be the last round that Gennady would win on all three judges' scorecards, personally I'd have to disagree. Canelo was able to even it up in the exchanges a bit more in the 10th. It was still close enough though that I felt justified giving it to Triple G based on his aggression. Being the one who seemed to want to win the fight more, literally running after Canelo at times. I tend to agree with Harold Letterman, who had the fight 8 rounds to 4 in favor of Triple G, having given Canelo rounds 2, 3, 11, and 12. But it's so close that you really have to choose based on stylistic preference. No doubt the cleaner punches were landed by Canelo, but the power punches ended up basically even, and the landed jabs for Triple G nearly doubled that of Canelo's, which has to really be considered, knowing the power of a Triple G jab. Surely they're comparable to a power punch when he really loads up on them. I'd definitely like to see Triple G throw more to the body earlier on in their next fight come September, as well as use that looping rear hand in combination with a Duran shift to cut Canelo off from exiting to his left. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Let me know in the comments what your predictions are for the rubber match. Will Triple G finally be able to get the win, or will Canelo come out on top once again? If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe with the bell on so you don't miss any future uploads. Peace, guys.